It's the Real Estate Podcast, brought to you by ANZ Home Loans for financial well-beings.
Again, all of the external regions, so Tuggeranong, Belconnen, Gungahlin, I think people have, or from what I'm hearing from friends that are first home buyers, they've got their parents in their ear saying you should buy something with a block of land and freestanding. So they're willing to go further out from the city to get that freestanding home rather than coming further in. So there's compromises across the board, but it's those further out regions that I'm seeing are really popular and there's still quite hot demand for.
And that is Sam Dyne there in Canberra this morning, and welcome back to another Real Estate Breakfast podcast as we navigate together through our 2025 every morning, talking to the pro commentators for their analysis and also their predictions so that you as well as me can try and make sense of what is happening at any time in the Australian real estate property market. And you can stream and listen to us anytime, anywhere. And of course, we are on iHeartRadio as well as a whole lot of other platforms. Well, today is Tuesday, March the 4th today. Canberra's first home buyers. Is that you? Are you one of these first home buyers trying to get into the market there? You no doubt will realise that you're facing steep challenges entering the market. Canberra is ranked second for the longest time required to save for a deposit. That is according to Domain's First Home Buyer Report for 2025. Couples aged between 25 and 34 take, on average, 5 years and 7 months to save for a 20% deposit, just over a year less than Sydney. And of course, we did speak to Domain's chief economist, Nicola Powell, last week, and she highlighted that very point, the struggle, citing high property prices, rising living costs, and they're just not going away at the moment, and slow wage growth is also in the mix. But right now, let's welcome into the conversation this morning Sam Dyne. He is in Canberra and he is from Stone Real Estate. And good morning to you, Sam. How is your 2025 year travelling?
Good morning, Craig. Thank you very much for having me on this morning. 2025 has so far been a lot better than 2024. The open home numbers we had in November and December were pretty dreary here in the capital, but we've come back to January and February. Clearance rates are picking up. I think I've got double the number of buyers at open homes, so I'm feeling very optimistic.
Canberra's first home buyers, as I say, they are facing this steep challenge with entry-level home prices now reaching, in Canberra, that median price of $815,000. That is up by 3.2% from last year and nearly 40% over the last 5 years. Despite this, the ACT and Victoria lead the nation in first home buyer activity, reflecting the strong demand. But it is still quite difficult. Perhaps you could just talk about what's happening with those first home buyers and those many conversations, trying to do the therapy on the side, I guess, helping them along.
For sure. I think in Canberra, we've got such a large portion of our workforce are in the Australian public service. So what I tend to see is a lot of people do tend to get together into couples quite early and they've both got quite stable jobs. And I think that's what leads to our really high number of first home buyers nationally. But at the same time, what I've seen over the last few years is with interest rates as high as they are, people who 3 or 4 years ago might have been looking to spend $1 million on their second home sort of capped at that $800,000, $900,000 price point. And that's just creating so much competition in that entry-level section, which is just driving the competition. So whilst higher price points have come down, this entry-level point just seems to keep going up, which is really hard.
Yes, the entry price point is moving rapidly. Domain reported on a couple first-time home buyers who spend 5 months searching for a home within their $850K budget. They hope for a 3-bedroom townhouse in a couple of different suburbs. So tell us about that.
Yeah, so they were looking out in both Belconnen and Gungahlin, two sort of not regional. You sort of refer to Canberra as almost 5 sort of separate little towns, all linked by highways. It's not so much of a city here. So Belconnen and Gungahlin are 2 that are in the north, both a little bit more affordable than the city centre. And what the article mentions is that they would prefer to be sort of in a Belconnen or in a Gungahlin, but it's really hard to get a freestanding house in those inner regional spaces. So rather than going outside, which is almost a 30-minute drive to the city, which may not sound like much for a lot of the rest of the country, that's a long way for Canberra. So they're having to compromise and going for a townhouse.
The apartment versus the house debate, buying an entry-level apartment in Canberra, significantly cheaper, no surprise there. Median price point at the moment around $462,000, nearly half the cost of a house. Despite the affordability, demand, of course, remains extremely high for standalone homes. Many first-home buyers are looking at a couple of different suburbs there in Canberra. What are those suburbs?
Yeah, so again, all of the external regions, so Tuggeranong, Belconnen, Gungahlin, I think people have, or from what I'm hearing from friends that are first home buyers, they've got their parents in their ear saying you should buy something with a block of land and freestanding. So they're willing to go further out from the city to get that freestanding home rather than coming further in. So there's compromises across the board, but it's those further out regions that I'm seeing are really popular and there's still quite hot demand for.
The other thing that seems to be creeping in right around Australia at the moment, particularly for first-home buyers, is this whole strata extra fees that they're going to have to pay. In some cases, they are mounting up. What sort of a strata dilemma are you seeing on the ground?
Yeah, so there's a whole mix of different complexes across Canberra, and some of them have strata fees as high as $8,000 or $10,000 a year. And it's a bit of a catch-22 because by buying an apartment, yes, you're saving on your mortgage repayments, but then you've just got these ongoing strata payments indefinitely. So I think that's why I'm seeing people choose to wait longer to save the deposit for a house, realising, yes, they'll be paying rent longer, but it means when they get into that home, it is completely theirs. They're not bound by strata payments. They've got the freedom to do whatever they want. So I think that's a big detractor for a lot of people.
So what do you say to people like they say, oh gosh, you know, this is $10,000. We love the apartment, but we don't want to pay 10 grand. Can you find us something that's got cheaper strata fees? I mean, you're scrambling all the time, probably trying to find those.
Absolutely. There's so much sympathy from my end. I think it's really about what sort of value you're looking for in the strata. So I do have cheaper apartments that I can recommend where you don't get much from the strata. You know, there's no lifts. You've got to walk up 4 flights of stairs. There's certainly no amenities. And with that, you get a cheaper strata, which appeals to some buyers. But then at the same time, I've got young couples who are happy to pay a little bit more. It gives them access to a pool and a gym. And I say, look, you might save $50 a week on a gym membership, which can help compensate for some of those strata payments because you've got everything on your doorstep. So people are looking for different things, Craig.
All right, we are talking to Sam Dyne in Canberra this morning. When we come back, we'll have a look at the mortgage stress and what is happening in Canberra, as well as some of those cash buyers that are really knocking out first home buyers. We'll talk about that after this.
From the emotion of property, the economic inflation, managing your expectations, lack of stock, price growth, construction appetite, days on the market. Stay informed with us and know your property. We are more than just a real estate podcast. We cover a multitude of subjects, including property data, current buyer-seller sentiment, and the mood of the market. Follow each week all of the main talking points and know your property.
And it is a Real Estate Tuesday. We are in Canberra this morning talking all things property, and Sam is with us. Yes, up to that mortgage stress, mortgage repayments on a Canberra home consume, get this, 46.7% of income. Now, that is well above the 30% stress threshold compared to 26.5% for apartments. Now, the experts are predicting relief through rate cuts. High prices and undersupply, though, is going to, Sam, continue to challenge first home buyers.
Yep, completely agree. I think it's been the rate cut that we've already had this year. I've seen a big change on the ground. I was discussing with a colleague this morning that the 0.25% basis cut doesn't make any meaningful difference to buyers' borrowing capacity, but it all seems to be sentiment. They've got this burden off their shoulders. They're feeling optimistic. So I'm hopeful that starts to provide relief for people, but it's certainly really, really hard.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when Anthony and I were talking on the afternoon that the RBA decided to lower it by 25 basis points, the interest rate. And I remember myself saying, gee, this is fantastic news. But then you have to sort of catch yourself and say, no, hang on. This is only, 25 basis points. People are really hurting with mortgage stress. It's got to go a long way further down the chain for that meaningful feeling in the hip pocket. But you're right. What it does signal is that sentiment of feeling better.
Absolutely. And I've got friends who are going through similar circumstances and they've been trying to enter the market, and this relief just helps. It makes life a lot easier for them. And it's not just in the industry I'm seeing it, but personally as well.
Now, if you're a first-time buyer in Canberra trying to get into the market, yes, it is tough, as we're talking about this morning, but cash buyers who have decided to cash out, they are mortgage-free, a lot of them. They're pocketing a reasonable amount of cash, but unfortunately for first-time buyers, they are being knocked out, crushed by these cash buyers in your market.
Yeah, we're still seeing about 25% of all property purchases in Canberra being without a mortgage. So time and time again, I see an auction scenario where there's a few young couples who have fallen in love with a home and they've got their budget set and they're ready on the day, and then they just come and get blown out of the water by downsizers who have just sold their house for $2 million. They've got cash in the bank and ultimately they don't really care what they pay for that house. Once they set their eyes on it, they'll pay whatever they need to get it. So that creates a really tough scenario as well.
All right, so there's quite a lot to think about if you are in the Canberra market for 2025. Sam, thanks so much for coming on to the Real Estate Breakfast and sharing your corner of Australia with our listeners this morning. Enjoy your Tuesday and go well for the rest of 2025.
Thanks for having me, Craig. Really enjoy the podcast.
Don't forget to subscribe. We have so many episodes, all designed to help you better understand the constantly evolving and dynamically changing real estate property market.
I do recall we had hundreds of townhouses sitting for probably close to a year. We could not get rid of them. They were probably $200,000 less than what they were built for and bought for brand new. So up until just before COVID, we almost could not give them away. The trend over the last 4 years has been that they've just been increasingly becoming far more popular.
Okay, Rebecca, make everybody sort of cry into their cereal this morning. You said that you couldn't give them away pre-COVID. What was the price point? Let us all have a little cry.
I do recall I had many townhouses, 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, up for sale for probably that early $200,000 range, less than 10 years old. I pain myself to say that I didn't buy any.
We dive deep into topics like buying, selling, investing, and maximising your property's value, from mortgage advice to the latest property data and trending numbers. Your real estate journey starts here. We connect you to the best real estate information across Australia. The Real Estate Podcast.